But what was him giggling creepily and him starting to move his appendage in an effort to touch the hands of the waxer.
Day and night, no one knows what the future will bring. All or nothing.
We're trying out this new microphone, see how it works. I might not even like it. Who knows? Okay. Hi. It's me, the Waxing Ninja. Back with some more. I'm still trying to figure out my beginning thing. I don't want to say welcome or welcome back. I don't know. Hi. Hello. Hi. It's me. I don't know. I just wanted to come naturally. So I'm just going to say howdy, partner. I don't know. Anyways, I have a little bit of time before my first client gets here. I'm very, very slow this week, so I'm trying to do things. I did make the brow boards. I'm going to put it in my shorts videos to go check that out. But I was thinking we could do waxing horror stories. So I looked on Reddit to even see if that's a thing, and it is. They're there. So, but I didn't want to read them. I wanted to read them first time. So it's we're both getting it at the same time. So let's see. Search waxing horror stories. People who wax others for a living. What's the worst horror story you have of a client? Here we go. There's 1.1 thousand replies. So let's see. Okay. Not me, but this happened to a friend of mine. She and her girlfriend decided to get Brazilian waxes together. It was her first Brazilian wax, so she had no frame of reference for how much it was supposed to hurt. First strip, okay. A few more, fine. Then one more pull, and mega pain. The waxer looked terrified, but then just smiled, and just quickly made gestures for her to get dressed and come out front to pay. This happened in South Korea, by the way. When she got home, she inspected the area, and the waxer had actually ripped her labia. What? She had to immediately go to hospital to get stitches to have it repaired. All my friend did was go back to the salon with her hospital bill and demand they pay it and call the matter settled, which they did. Holy baloney. First of all, 20 plus years of waxing, I have never, ever ripped someone's labia. I don't even know how that can happen, honestly. That poor lady. Whew. Okay. Let's see. I was a hairstylist, and we really only ever did facial waxing and offered to clients as an upsell. A regular client of mine was traumatized by a prior waxing experience with a stylist that was not myself years prior and declined. Well, the stylist went to wax her brows and dropped a giant clump of wax on her lashes, then proceeded to take a long time to remove the wax, I think about an hour, with only water, no oil. What? That would have made the wax slide off instantly, yeah. So I have done that before, not in the lashes, but I've gotten it if someone moved or whatever, or my fault, I don't know, but those fuzzies here or here, I've gotten it in there before, a couple of times in my whole career. And oil takes it out. Okay, here we go. I used to work at a beauty supply that had a tanning bed. Despite the posted rules, a woman snuck her husband into the room with her, and they proceeded to have sex on the bed, leaving a mess. A mess which cooked to a crisp on the bed and permeated the shop with smell. They left quickly. I got to clean the bed. Then I called them to let them know they were not welcome back. This is a tanning salon horror, which okay. They got pretty angry immediately and denied the sex until I told them I cleaned off what cooked on the bed. Then they quietly said okay and hung up. You don't get to be that way with anyone that has just dealt with your DNA like that. Gross. Me and my husband go tanning, and don't come for me. I know it's completely against esthetician protocol. I just barely started in November. I've never been a tanning girl. I went to do it for my wedding, and I just go. I don't do my face, but I'm living my best life right now. Shoot me. But anyways, we've talked about that before. We haven't done it. Promise. Okay. This person says, there are too many, truly. It can be awful. More stories have to do with bad hygiene, some with clients' attitudes or actions, and some will just be plain old problems getting the hair off. I haven't had a really bad one in a while, or maybe I'm just not fazed by it anymore. A favorite of mine was the girl who came in for a Brazilian and was shaking from nervousness before we even started. I'll spare you the details, but it took over an hour to finish the service. It usually takes 15 to 30 minutes. 45 is the most it should ever take, and it really should never take that long. It takes 10 to 15 minutes to do Brazilian. And at some point, she had a full-on anxiety attack. I was being as gentle as I could, considering I was ripping her hair out of her body, and after every pull, she sat up and cried loudly, and then dropped back onto the bed. She got off the bed, still half naked, and started pacing back and forth, loudly sobbing and hyperventilating. I was trying my best to keep her calm, but honestly, it was all in her head. It was. Getting your hair ripped out always hurts, but her hair should have been an easy service. She let herself panic and the fear got to her. After she left, I sat in the break room, took a deep breath, and started sobbing. LOL. I was so glad to be done with it. She was sweet otherwise. No smell, easy hair, but God, that was the most stressful service of my life. She actually came back a few more times after, and we finished in 20 minutes. No more incidents. It hurts, but not that bad. And if I had a client that was sitting up after every pull, pacing, I would just end the service. I don't got time for that. I'm a busy girl most of the time. But I'm glad that it looks to me like this person probably worked at a corporation because they have a break room. So I'm sure that they were able, if she had other clients, to move it around or whatever to other people. But I don't have that luxury. Let's see. Client story. Went to a waxing studio I'd never been to before and got a Brazilian done. The lady did this with bee wax, I think, which you just put on the skin, it dries quickly, and you pull it off without cloth or paper. That's hard wax. You have to apply it at a certain thickness for it to work. That's true. The lady begins, and at first, everything is going well. She works her way to the more private areas, but I can tell she works pretty hard. I have strong hair, and this was after 2 to 3 months of growing. When she gets to the labia, the problems begin. She can't seem to rip the hair off. Her solution, apply more wax on top, but still, no budging. That would be my worst nightmare. More wax is applied, and she started slightly spreading it out too. So now I'm covered in warm, thick wax almost everywhere, which feels a little like wearing a small harness. I get a little scared and just hope that she knows what she's doing. She, however, chooses at this moment to inform me that it's possible to rip off skin as well, and to kind of scold me for having thick hair. Incredible people skills, so comforting. Luckily, she somehow managed to get it off. Never going back there, though. Ugh. I have had fleeting moments of panic when I've put hair on the labia and it's really thick, and I'll go to tug and it won't come off. So all I do is I make a better tab or lip, we call it, to pull, and I just get in there and pull that baby out. You just got to use whatever muscle you have and just rip that what off, because that's the only way it's coming off. Okay, let's see. My sister was an esthetician and refused to do LAs, lips, and a-holes because of issues with people's hygiene and how gross it could be. I don't get that. Okay. Her coworkers gladly did them, though. Better tippers in general when you're waxing their asshole and don't hurt them too bad. LOL. Sometimes people come in and they're super sweaty and it's hard for the wax to stick to sweaty skin. So usually they just pat baby powder on them. Problem solved. True. One day, a younger woman came in. She was super sweaty, so the esthetician decided to haul out the baby powder, dab some on, and turn to get the pot of wax to do the job. I should mention, the woman getting the wax was on all fours on the table, as they usually are. So, esthetician turns to get the wax. Woman on the table lets out a fart. Just a little slip, but still. Baby powder went everywhere, all over the table, all over the esthetician, and was hanging in the air. I asked if the girl was embarrassed, and my sister said that apparently she just played it off like she didn't fart. But the baby powder evidence told the truth. Plus, it reeked. But the esthetician was a total pro and didn't even faze her. That would have been the end of my waxing career. I have had that happen to me a couple of times in 20 years. And you just keep going. What else are you going to do? I mean, it's a natural thing to happen. It's not like they did it on purpose. And you're in and out. So it's we're just getting it done and you're out of there, and then we're just moving on with our life. So not that big of a deal. Okay. A new client came in right after having sex and leaked all over the bed. Gross. and she wanted me to finish the job, so cleaned herself right in front of me, completely nonchalantly. Wouldn't even look at her. That makes me bleh. And another one, but service wasn't rendered. I was 18 working at my first salon alone. It was this huge place in a really good area, but new, so business was slow. This guy steps in wearing a super nice suit and asks for a back wax. I have him step into the wax room, ask him to remove his coat and shirt, and lay down, facing down. I go to grab some towels as extra precaution to lay over his butt so his pants aren't ruined. I do that as well. Come back to see him naked, and he's asking for a Brazilian wax. Caught off guard, I just kind of stand there before realizing what situation I'm in. I have no experience in that, and it's not a service we provide for men. I try to explain that to him and ask him to dress, and he tells me it's not a hard thing to learn, to practice on him. Hell no. Bye. At this point, I'm freaking out. I still have an advantage point of running out the door as he's butt naked, and we had 2 security guards for the plaza. But the situation kind of locked my legs together. I don't even remember how, but he eventually listens and dresses and leaves. It kind of taught me about the risk of working alone in a building where I need to take clients into a room in the back. I made friends with the security guard that day and got his number in case I ever did need him to step in. You know what? That's crazy. In the 20 plus years I've been waxing, I have come to the conclusion that I am just not doing that. I'm not waxing men below the belt. I'm not trained for it. I've had many requests, and I just say, no, sorry, I don't do that. You couldn't pay me enough to do that. I'm sorry. And for all the great guys out there that are swimmers or workouters or bicyclists who do it for legit reasons, I'm sorry. But a handful of nasty men ruined it for y'all. Okay. Not my story, but a friend's. Temporary job as an assistant in a beauty clinic. Unisex, they offer Brazilians, hair and beard styling, and the rest of the normal stuff. One fat old Indian man of about 50 plus came in and said he wanted a Brazilian. My friend starts preparing the materials for the person who does those. He ushers the man into the male dressing room. He proceeds to undress completely once my friend left to go get the necessities. The waxer and the assistant come back to the unwelcome side of a really fat old Indian man who looked pregnant, just standing, looking pleased with himself. We tell him to lay on the waxing table. He asks for us to do his lower parts first. So the waxer does. He has what looks like a lot of moles, lumps, and warts in his genital area. As she is removing the hair, he gets erect. Not so unusual. Another reason why I don't do those. Not so unusual, but what was him giggling creepily and him starting to move his appendage in an effort to touch the hands of the waxer. He then asked if we could do his in-between areas. He turns over, gets a pillow to support his weight so we can easily access that area. He has dried you-know-what lining the inside of his you-know-where. My friend leaves the room to avoid the horrific sight and smell that only really came apparent as he farted. Once he had left about 5 minutes later, he hears a shout of panic. The waxer runs out of the room, followed by a naked Indian man with a... I can't even say it on YouTube. Police get called and the man was arrested. For essay, he was touching her leg, then he sat up, tried to grab her body. She managed to escape. Poor woman had to go home. She was in a real bad panic attack. I don't even know if I'll be able to read this one or not without getting in trouble. That's disgusting. Oh, I can't even. Okay. In high school, I had a friend who was smart but lazy. To get him motivated to get better grades, my friends and I made a bet. If he didn't meet a certain average, then I'd get to wax his armpits. If I didn't make the same average, I'd have to do 50 push-ups on the cafeteria table. He didn't make the average, so I had a pool party at my house with my friends and him, and we all gathered around to watch me wax his armpits. He was lying on his back on the family room ottoman, and I was sitting beside him, leaning forward to do it all. We also recorded it on video. He spent the entire week hiding from his bigoted dad because he was scared he'd get in trouble for having incredibly smooth armpits. Fast forward to a few months later, when I had a school project that involved making a video. So I took the camera to my teacher to show it to her. The camera shows the history of most recent videos. So since the waxing video was the only video before my project, she saw the thumbnail of me leaning over my friend lying on the ottoman, but you can't see what I'm doing with my hands. After freezing and seeing the confusion on her face, I tried to explain quickly, My friend lost a bet, so I had to wax his armpits. I stuttered and struggled a lot with that. I don't think she believed me. That little thumbnail honestly looked like the intro to a very amateur. I got an A on my project, though. I also never had to do push-ups on the cafeteria table. Let's see. First time getting waxed, I was maybe 16, and I was about to leave for a few weeks to be a summer camp counselor. I had my legs, armpit, and bikini line done. I wasn't too worried going to the appointment because I knew I had a high tolerance for pain. The room I was in was hot to start, and after we started the process, I started sweating and the paper lining was sticking to me. It was incredibly painful, but I didn't know any better, so I decided to just tough it out. Afterwards, I bled out of every pore she waxed. I got blood on all the clothing I was wearing. My legs looked like tiny minefields. I came out of the back to my mom in the waiting room, and I was holding back tears that hurt so bad. Needless to say, I never went back, and the next few weeks at camp were spent nursing the scabs and sensitive skin. Okay, there's so many things wrong with this. One is you cannot have a hot wax room. It has to be cold in here. It has to stay more on the chilly side because if your room's too hot, the wax won't set up. And so the fact that it was hot in the room and they were sweating so bad that the table paper was sticking to them, that's not a good sign. That shouldn't happen. You should never get scabs from waxing, ever. Some pinpoint bleeding is fine, and it's actually a good sign because it means that the hair was actually, I think it's the anagen phase of the hair growth where it's actually still connected and you're ripping it out from that, which is good. But like bleeding is not appropriate. Okay, last one. Not me, but the stylist who waxes me told me she had a girl come in with a tampon. Okay. Normally, most of our stylists are okay with that, but they will ask you to hold it to one side or the other while doing the waxing. This girl let go of the tampon string before the stylist ripped off the wax, and the tampon ended up smacking against the wall. Due to the impact of the tampon was splattered in multiple places on the wall. Apparently, they had to repaint it. She said they both laughed like crazy about it, and to her credit, the girl offered to pay for the wall to be repainted. That was nice of her to offer to repaint it, but really, okay, when clients are on their period and they come in, I always say just wear a brand new tampon, no big deal. I never have them hold the string. You shouldn't have to have them hold the string. It's a clean string. You have gloves on, so you can pull it down. They can tuck it in. I don't want a client putting their hand down there while I'm waxing. If you're getting the string stuck to the wax, that's a you problem. That shouldn't be happening. And although she offered to pay for the wall to be painted, that wasn't her fault. That would be horrific. Absolutely horrific. Okay, well, that's it for today's episode of Horror, Wax, and Other Stories. I don't know. What do y'all think? Do you like it? Do you not like it? I think there's some good stories in there. I personally don't really have a ton of stories of my own, and I'm so grateful. I have had some clients who are kind of yucky down there, and I just don't tend to rebook them. It's not worth it for me. I feel so lucky, the quality of clientele that I have, I really don't have to worry about that. Thank goodness. So I don't know. I live in a small town. Maybe that has something to do with it, but they're fun to read. So if it's something that you like or you're interested in, let me know. We can keep doing it. Okay. All right. Bye.